Alright. I had to put a curtain up here on the window. There was so much hard light coming in, it was ridiculous. So I'm doing my stew here this morning. I figured I'd talk a little bit because I got put off, man. I went over to Pavilions. These little cans of tomato paste are $2 a piece there. $2 a piece. Used to be 59 cents or something like that, like a couple 4 years ago. $2 a piece. I don't go to Pavilions because they have the highest prices in Los Angeles that I've found so far. Ridiculous. And on the way, I shot a little short that I'll be posting up. It was had another car blocking the driveway this morning. They were gone when I came back. And just the changes around the street. You know, I don't get up early enough and go for a walk like I used to do back in the old days. So I don't notice it so much. I kind of drive by, and that's about it. And I wanted to do a Sunday night chat this week, but, you know, I just didn't have much to talk about. I didn't do a whole lot. I mean, you know, the Sunday night chats basically become like a vlog of the week, or maybe sometimes I have a subject. So I'm just going to kind of share what's been going on. Since I got back from Pahrump, I've been every day I've had something else to do in the mornings. And then it's been, you know, it's not overly hot. It's going to get a lot hotter here. August, September is when it gets warm here in Los Angeles. I mean, like 90s to 100 or so usually. It seems like the 4th of July every year it gets a little warm. But you acclimate. The cool thing about Los Angeles, Southern California, is that it really cools down at night, and it's cool in the mornings. So that's when you want to do stuff. Because after that, you know, we get that inversion layer here. We're surrounded by mountains in Los Angeles. So it's not as bad as it was in the 80s. In the 80s, you couldn't even see the mountain right here, you know, because of all the air pollution from the vehicles. So that was one good thing about emissions, you know, better air quality. But it's still there. And when you get up there in the warm months and you look down, you can see an inversion layer. It's there. So it's just nice to avoid that. I talked with a nurse the other day who was telling me, because you'll hear me clearing my throat a lot. You don't hear it as much when I'm out of town. I don't know if you guys noticed that on the camping trip. You didn't notice it as much. You know, it's like a bronchitis thing, and I'm not a wake and bake weed smoking guy, but most nights, not every night, I smoke a little bit. That's it. So I always just kind of attributed it to that. But he was pointing out that, dude, it's just the air around here, and I think he's right, because I do notice I do a lot less I do a lot less of that when I'm not here. Anyhow, I walked past Lucy's El Adobe right here on the corner, and they've been working on that place. So that place is going to be opening up again, which will be interesting. It's a landmark. I used to go in there from time to time. It's a traditional Mexican joint. I never liked the food that much. I always felt like it was too heavy, too greasy, that sort of thing. But their margaritas were always awesome, and they have this outdoor thing that they built, I don't know, probably over 10 years ago. Pretty sure of that. So it's a nice place to sit and drink at night. I'm not a big drinker, as you guys know, but it was a great date place. Especially if it's like you meet somebody and you're going to have a date for the first time. It's like, oh, you know, I know this place with good margaritas called Lucy's El Adobe. I don't mention I live across the street from it. Oh, if you had too much to drink. You know, I happen to live right across the street. Those are the old days. Use what you got. But, yeah. And this morning, I caught this video, and it's an interesting thing, this woman. Because I've met her before, and I'm not talking smack, I'm just saying, Lydia Rico, she goes by. She used to be the Gypsy tribe, her and her husband, and I met them at Overland West a couple years ago. Philip is his name, and he and I we became friends. We were talking on the phone a lot, And you guys might remember, if you guys are YouTube people who were following them, they were building really cool vans. That was his thing. He was a certified mechanic, and he had built up this. I think it was a Ford ambulance. It's one of the coolest overland vehicles that you've ever seen. They could stand up in it, and they had a full oven, stovetop. They lived down in Baja for like 6 months or something, and it was cool. And they're good-looking people, and the business end of things were getting too stressful. He and I discussed it a little bit. He wanted me to be part of it as far as the woodworking on the interior. But I'll tell you, it was funny because we had that conversation, and then I saw his interior work, and the guy could do everything. Like, he was a very talented dude, kind of sensitive, and I screenshotted something because they were going through this major turmoil at the time, and I was actually going to goof on him because he posted this picture of himself like this with his hair, and it's all this list of stuff that his wife had done, like taking his business or taking his vehicle and all this other stuff. I don't know. That's between them. They were each putting their side of it out there publicly, and then he just disappeared. He wasn't getting back to me, and I was watching her videos lately. I don't watch all of her stuff. For me personally, there's nothing there, I will say, I mean, she's obviously an attractive woman. She has a decent figure, all that stuff. I'm not a tattoo guy on women. I know that sounds funny to some people because I have tattoos. But I watched a few, and I got her more side of it, and, whatever. But it turns out, it's a sad thing, but Phil killed himself, apparently, according to her. And I had no idea, and that sucks. And I ran into her, like, last year when that friend of mine was here in town. I did a video, like, this video will end a lifelong friendship, because he shows up, he invites himself here, he just wants to go surfing every day, and he's always hawking one up, because as soon as he wakes up at 4 o'clock in the morning, he smokes grass, and then he was doing stretching and everything on the floor, waking everybody up. And then the first days here, I get up after he leaves, and he stopped up my toilet. So now my toilet's overflowing. And every day he was here, every time he went to the bathroom, he just pissed all over the place. Just totally disrespected my pad. But one day, and we had this crazy argument, I talked about this on the video, but where we were driving down to Venice, and he literally, as we're driving there, and we smoked grass before we left here. And I'm like 30 minutes from the beach. We took Venice, and on the way, he literally takes a bong out as he's driving, and he's lighting and smoking a bong. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? We got this huge argument over it. But while we were down there, I saw the old van, the 4x4 van that Phil and Lydia lived in. And when we walked past it, coming back the other way, she had come out of it. I said hi to her, trying to be cool. I don't think she remembered me. She was real pissy about it. I don't blame her. I get it that people probably, she thinks, she does have this thing. She believes people have messed with her van and everything else, and she just didn't want to be bothered. She was kind of rude, but again, she's living in that thing, and I just happened to see her and just try to say hi. She wasn't having it, so I was like, all right. I didn't want to hold anything against her on that, but I watched the last couple videos she put out, and like today was on like parking, like where you can park and the type of vehicle you should have if you're living in a vehicle. And she's always kind of complaining about money. She's working it. She's attractive enough. She's so attractive, as a matter of fact, I made the point, she's a really good skateboarder, and I made a point, like, why aren't you modeling, like, for an active wear company? I mean, even Vans should be hiring her, for the shoes and everything. She's a very capable person and smart. She's choosing this lifestyle. She complains about it all the time. She could get a job. I mean, that's the thing about these people. You can't, if you're going to live in a vehicle and complain about parking and money and everything else, and you just want, I guess a lot of people just want to, they believe YouTube's going to be their thing. I'm going to be a YouTube creator, and that's all I'm going to do. That's all I want to do is I get it. That's all you want to do. Fine. But you can't go around complaining about it then, because you could have a job. You get out and get a friggin' job. And if you're attractive, way easier for you to get a job. You know what sucks about it? Oh shit, now you got to deal with people, and some attractive women, there's a big percentage of them out there, they just have a problem with men. They have a problem with men being attracted to them. I think a lot of these women that you see that are traditionally very pretty, who then get tattoos everywhere and tattoos on their face and everything else, they're rebelling against being beautiful, being born beautiful, because they don't want that attention. There's other ways to do it, because you know what they'll do? They'll do that, but then they'll still walk around with the shorts on with their ass cheeks hanging out and everything else. And, you know, how about you just cover up? Like, if you don't want the attention, you know, just wear baggy clothes. Don't wear all the makeup and all that other stuff, you know, and you'll find that you get less attraction. That's all. I think it's pretty simple. You think I like all the attention I get from women? I can't leave the house without women blowing kisses at me and trying to jump me and everything else. It's ridiculous. It used to be like that. It's still like that in West Hollywood for me. from the happy boys, you know. Anyhow, it just struck me when I was watching her video. She's like, I gotta park here. I can't park there. I can't have too big of a vehicle. It's true, you know, the towns are making it so, like, if you're over 7 feet tall, the vehicle, and too long, you know, they're gonna ticket you. If you look bad, all that other. I'm pretty lucky with the Astro van. My van is over 7 feet tall, but not by much. Not enough for a cop to be like, where it's just going to jump out at him. And for me, it's mainly because I have the rack on the top. It's tough with my van. Now that I put the box on the back with that bumper and the swing away, it, you know, it definitely screams Overlander way more. But the way I have the flat deck on the top, you know, it does also kind of scream work truck at the same time. And it is both of those things, so it works out pretty good for me. Of course, I'm not living in it, but I have parked at different times, you know, coming home from someplace late, just parking on somewhere in some little street and sleeping in it. So far, so good. The only time I've ever had like a knock has been when I was in Jersey, and I made that mistake on the bay in Seaside Park. It does bum me out, my hometown, that they don't let you do that anywhere. There's a place down by the bay, I forget, is it 15th Ave? 12th Ave? I forget what street it ends at. I think it's 12th Ave. That denotes the separation from Seaside Park to Berkeley Township, which is, we call South Seaside there. And down on the bay, there's a nice place where there's a dock there and a big parking lot. People go there to watch the sunset. That would be the perfect spot to park. I think in the Heights on the bay side. Let me think here for a second. Yeah. On the Heights and the Bay side there along 35. I think you can park there. I used to see RVs there a lot. But that's not a nice place to be. And there's nothing near there. So you have to get up and drive from there. I think they might have some food or something there now. I don't really recall everything that's there. Anyhow, if you're going to be living in a van full time or any vehicle, you're just going to run these problems, and that's part of it. And those are your choices, you know. You made these life choices, and that's how that is. You got to figure it out. But you can always make a change. So I find that sometimes a lot of times, people make life choices that then make their lives more complicated. And then they complain about it. You did this to yourself, man. You made those choices. You had a bunch of kids with different guys that none of them were stand-up dudes, holding down a job, wanting the kids themselves, all that. That's one thing I see a lot of. Or you just want to check out. You don't want to really be a part of society anymore. You don't want to have that regular job. You want to have more freedom and everything else. Okay, fine. You chose that, right? It's your personal choices that put you in the predicament you're in, whether you're doing well or not. So at any time, you can make a new choice to turn your friggin' life around. Like, I've got plenty of issues, right? And living the way I do, where I do, all of it. And I talk about it here on the channel, but it's not I'm not complaining. It's not overtly complaining. It's just kind of like filling you in on what's going on. Speaking of what's going on, letting the cat out of the bag here. There's a chance. I was texting with Sarah yesterday. There's a chance she's going to come into town at the end of the month. No guarantees. You guys know her. She could change her mind at any moment. But if she does, I think she'll stay for at least a night, which would be cool. It'd be cool if she could stay longer because there's just so much fun stuff to do. She really wants to do the Hollywood sign hike. If I get her up there, I'm going to try to get her to go across the ridge line. I got a couple good stories there, and get to another peak. Show her some cool stuff. Who knows? She talked about some cave that somebody lived in out in Pasadena or something. So, and I used to do a lot of hiking and mountain biking out there. It'd be cool if she wants to do that. What I'd love to do with her, I know where your minds are, is get her to the beach on, like, I have a bunch of Schwinn 20-inch wheel Schwinns, like kids bikes, that I set up to be comfortable for adults to ride, although she's pretty short. Set a couple of those up and take her up to Will Rogers State Beach, and then ride the bikes down to all the way down to the marina, and stop along the way, get something to eat, have a few drinks, that sort of thing. I think she'd really enjoy that. I think you guys would get a kick out of it. I'm sure she would get great content for her channel out of that. So we'll see. Hopefully she'll show up. I'll have to take a break from work. As I was saying earlier, I haven't been working. I got a little burnt out there. A lot of it is just people wanting to talk to me all the time and calling and leaving messages and everything else. So I don't know. That trip off grid and then the trip to Pahrump, it got my mind in another place just of thinking. And then it turns out, for those of you guys who've been curious about my pad in Arizona, as it turns out, my sister has finally found an apartment. She's trying to move in. She's got financial issues. She's got car problems. She's got to rely on her. I don't know if my niece is even married. She had a kid with a guy and she's living with him. I'll call him her husband. So she's relying on her daughter's husband to help her because he's got a truck. So she can't get everything out of the place because she needs a truck. She can't afford one. She happens to be down in Huachuca City. That's where the house is. It's right next to Sierra Vista. If you happen to live there and have a pickup truck and just want to do a solid, help my sister move a bunch of crap out of the garage, make a comment down there. I don't have enough friends there yet that could help her out. And the people I do know, I don't want to put them in that situation. I don't know them well enough, But, so that's happening. Her son, my nephew, is going to be at the house for a bit. He has not called me about this. I know he just wants to live there with his little dog. Like, he thinks he can do that. He's in for a rude awakening because he can't. Because as soon as she gets her stuff out of there and she's out of there, I got to make a trip there and start working on that pad. I think it's going to be a thing. I think I'm just going to have to eventually move into that place. I know that I talked about like one of those campfire conversations. I was talking about off-road rigs and the idea of living in one full-time, which is for real. I can see doing that. And I talked about maybe selling the house to afford, be able to buy the rig or build one. But I don't know, man. It would make more sense to keep the house than you've got an address. I think the plan would be, there's a base there at Fort Huachuca, so I think the plan would be see if I can get like a roommate situation once I fix the place up a little bit. And if I could get an officer or an NCO in there from the base, that would be awesome. And just be like, look, you're basically going to live here by yourself most of the time. But I come into town every month or two and spend a week or so and work on the place and do things. And, that's just how that is. I think that I could probably find somebody that's reliable like that. And this way I've still got my address. And for those of you that don't know what I do, I design and build custom furniture. So I always need a shop space. The house has an attached garage. It's a corner lot, and the yard wraps along the side of the house, and then you got a backyard. There's a gate to get into the backyard off this other street. But from the front of the house, there's a stone wall that goes off the corner of the house and wraps around the backyard, and there's a gate there. And right on the side of the house, there's a plenty of room there. So there's a guy up the street, it's called Mr. Shed. They build sheds that look like houses, you know, typical stick framing, well made. And they also do a lot of remodeling jobs, I think, and new construction around town. The guy that owns that his name's Tracy. Nice guy. I've talked to him before. He knows who I am. And I want to have him walk over there with me and take a look and tell me what I can do legally as far as the width of it, setback, if there's any of that going on. Where this place is in Arizona, they're pretty lenient on stuff. So that's the idea. Build a little structure there right next to the house. It's not permanent, so I'm not going to put a footing in or anything. I'll probably just build it up on blocks. I could maybe pour a couple piers possibly and do a beam foundation sort of system and put 2x on that as for floor joists, you know, build it myself, save a bunch of money that way. I'd like to get it high enough with just a slant roof with thin windows across the top to allow light in, and have the roof hang over on all 4 sides, like have a walkway built, like a deck all the way around it, not very wide, just whatever is left from there to the wall or whatever. It's like stack lumber on one side, walk around it clean, make it nice, insulate it, line the inner walls with plywood, you know, build a shop, have some electricity coming right up through the floor where the table saw is going to be and everything. So the idea would be really get there and work on that first, and then I've got a place to build and do all the stuff I want to do to the house. That's kind of the idea, and I think I could get what I need to get that structure up and running for $3-4 grand, something like that. So that's what I'm thinking. And yesterday, I helped my friend Kirgy out with her grandkids, and she's got, in the last couple of years, she's purchased 2 Toyota Tacomas. One's a 2-wheel drive, and the other one's a 4x4. She bought that one a couple months ago. I helped her go pick that one out. And so she's been on Marketplace. I've created a monster with her. We're going to do this thing I mentioned to you guys before. It's called the Garage Store, because she and I have been collecting real cool stuff for decades, and we realize we don't need it. It's all worth money. We don't want to give anything away. We want to get some decent prices for things. So she's been gearing up her yard. My next project is to do some work over at her house, and once I'm done with this project, we're going to do the first garage store, and I'm going to invite you guys to come check it out. I think you'll dig it. There'll be some stuff that's, you know, cheap and everything. I think she's going to have some food, and I think it'll be a fun thing to do and help us unload our stuff. She has a friend that sells to like costumers for film and whatnot, and the lady travels around buying vintage clothes, and she's rented Kirgy's house and yard before to have those sales, and she does extremely well doing that. And she will promote our little sale thing as well. And it's something that we want to try to do, especially when it cools off several times a year. It could be once a month in the nicer months. Who knows? But the point is, we're both on the same wavelength as far as wanting to lighten our load and get rid of stuff. And I'm thinking that by selling off a lot of the stuff, I can raise enough coin to help me build this rig that I'm thinking about. I think what's going to end up happening is, like I said, with the house in Arizona, once that all gets going, and I work on it, once I can get, this is, you know, we're talking long term. It's going to be, well, at least a couple of years from now. I should be in enough of a spot where I've got somebody in that house, looks nice, I'm happy there, and then I can start building a better rig to be living out of. The Astrovan will be absolutely fine for quite some time. But as I was saying in that video, that fireside chat video, it would be nice to build up an overland vehicle. And I'm looking now. I've seen stuff for like $15K, where it's a 4x4 full-size truck with a flatbed. Even if it didn't have a flatbed, I'd rip the bed off and build a flatbed on it, and then either find or build my own camper. I've been watching these videos on guys that are building their own campers, It's very strange to see people still using wood framing because we have all these composite panels these days. And I think that's what I would go with, those composite honeycomb panels with the fiberglass on them. Do my own fiberglassing, whatever, but make it super lightweight and rigid. Be real smart about it and create a pretty cool little thing. If you guys haven't watched Truck House, I think it's Truck House Life, Tim up in Alaska, he's got a real, I could do that easy. I could do exactly what he's doing. It's just that what is it? I think he's in a Ford 450, might be a 350. I think it's a 90s, like a late 90s, possibly. Could be newer than that. And I think he's got a 7.3 Cummins diesel in that thing. But he literally, it looks like a house on the back that he built, that he can drive out from underneath, put it up and everything. It's got like a roof on it, like hip roof, little gable on, or not a, no, it is a hip roof on the front. He did that for air deflection. Metal roof on there. It's got a wood burning stove. It's pretty cool. I could see he's building a spread up in Alaska right now. I was watching what he was doing on that house, and his skills have definitely gotten better over time. So it's impressive what he's able to knock out. I wish I was friends with him. I was just up there. He just did some stairs. I could have showed him a cooler way to achieve the same thing. Might have been a little easier for him too. But his system is pretty cool. So something like that would be neat. Because it would be cool to eventually get to a point where there's a rig that's, as I was saying before, large enough, you can stand up in it, live out of it, have a kid in it, do jobs all over, have the house in Arizona, and just pop in there from time to time. That's kind of what's floating around in my brain right now. But for right now, here in LA, I'm going to just keep plugging along. I've got a bunch of stuff to do, a lot of stuff for Kirby. There's some other clients I have to call. I did get a thing in the mail. I've been reluctant to participate on it, but there's a thing here. Gee whiz, where did I put it? I can't think of what it's called. Next Door. It's an online place for neighbors to share information. Unfortunately, with those things, it's a lot of complaining. A lot of people on there. See, if I talk about it, it sounds like I'm complaining about it. Does that put me into that category? I'm a hypocrite. I just put that on a t-shirt. Hypocrite. So, knowing hypocrite. What I mean by that is there's a lot of people. Like, I see it on Facebook all the time. There's even a page like from my hometown, and I know the woman who runs it, but I'm telling you, man, it's 6 o'clock in the morning, and there's already cars driving the wrong way down the street. Well, there's nobody else on the street, but it's just yentas. You know, it's mostly women just complaining about crap in the neighborhood. But the good thing about it is people also share stuff about, like, oh, I need a babysitter, or I need somebody to fix a door, that sort of thing. So I got on it when it first popped off, and I did get a lot of work. A lot of people that are local here in my neighborhood found out about me, and it was pretty good. But I'm not a licensed contractor. I'm a very good, I could be. I'll tell you a quick story about that. You can go to different places around LA to become a licensed contractor. So you basically take all these classes, and then you take the test, and now you're licensed. The problem with it is that in the old days, you could get a general contracting license, and you could do everything. I don't know if this is the same for everywhere else, but what happened here in California was they broke up all the trades. So now it's the general contracting license isn't, I don't know if that's what they have anymore, because now you need one if you're a framer, you need one if you're a finish guy, you need one if you're installing, like, they just broke it down. And it's really just a way for the state to make more revenue off people. And becoming a licensed contractor, or one of the other things involved in construction, being licensed doesn't make you better than somebody else. You would think it does, but it doesn't. It just puts you on the books, you're in the system, and then to get the work, because you're licensed, now you need to have liability insurance and all these other things. That's all overhead, and that's what drives up the cost of hiring those guys. And in the end, you're paying all this extra money and you have this false sense of, oh, it's going to be a better job, but it's not. Matter of fact, these guys will take a lot of shortcuts. They'll charge you for the best materials, not use the best materials. They'll get the job. They're going to promise you the world and give you a date on when something's going to be done, and then you rarely ever see them. And they've got a crew of guys that you can't communicate with. They're in your house. They got mariachi music going. They're crapping in a bucket in your garage. They're making mistakes. I'm not saying they're all these people are like this. I'm just saying I've seen this on these job sites with my own eyeballs. And normally it's really funny. I got into it with a guy. I actually took the video down because he tried to call me a racist because I was talking specifically about Israeli contractors. These guys that they show up at your house, good looking, they're driving BMWs or Mercedes when they pull up. Their clothes, the guy's belt is $500. You know what I mean? The nice shoes, the haircut, the accent, he's charming and he talks you into all this stuff, and then you just don't see him other than when there's a problem. And that's what these guys do. They drive around all day getting jobs, and then the other half of the day is putting out fires, going to all the jobs they got. You're like, no, the door was supposed to swing the other way. No, that was supposed to be 6 inches over this way. No, you got to use the green board here, not the gray board. No, this was supposed to be like this. Oh, you forgot to put the lights in. That's what you get with that. And it's really crazy. And then if you got a problem with them, all of a sudden their demeanor changes and things get threatening, or they stop coming to your house. And I'm not talking smack here. I'm just telling you what I've seen, and I've heard the complaints. That's why I come in. All of a sudden they find out about me. I come in, I start looking at the situation, I assess things, and if I like the people, maybe I'll take the job. And if I take the job, then they can let that guy go. And all of a sudden now they're learning because I'm educating you on what happened. Because let's face it, if you own a house, you're out there working your ass off, especially here. Yet most of you guys don't know how this stuff really works. You don't know what you're getting yourselves into. I've got this whole thing on my website's antiquated. It's not the best website. It's probably 20 years old or so. And I just put it up to have a presence online. I didn't put it up to get work out of it. It's just contact information and some old pictures of some of the old stuff I did back then. Matter of fact, you guys remember Patricia from being in Pahrump, the lady I built the table for. She's a web designer. She'd like to redo my website, but I already have a server and I don't really have the extra money to be paying for something like that. I'd like to. I'd love to do that. Funny thing about the website is that when I first did it, I was into all the things I'm doing now, and I had it as Mike Z Design, thinking eventually I could do the website where when you went to it, you could buy a t-shirt, I could blog on it, I could have different tabs for the bike stuff, the photography stuff. I was doing more photography back then. Obviously the woodworking, whatever else I'm into. I would have just set that up. Oh, let's go to there, because I do more than one thing, you guys know that are here. I'd like to have all that done, but it's just, I'm able to survive without it. It just seems like it's kind of a hassle to have to go through all that stuff, and I'd have to learn it, because I'd have to learn how to get on my own website and change things around, or be able to blog on it. You understand what I'm saying. And as you guys know by now, I'm not technologically savvy. I still haven't gotten the money from this freaking channel. I'm hoping Sarah shows up, because if she could just spend 30 minutes with my computer and me, I'm sure everything will be fine. I'll get a check in the mail. Anyhow, getting back to what I was saying there, I just kind of forgot too. I went off on the whole website thing. Yeah, I don't know. That's pretty much about it, I suppose. I don't know what else I could really tell you. I will tell you about this real quick. Somebody asked for a recipe for this. I'm cooking in a crock pot, people. There is no recipe. It's throw a bunch of crap in it. But I'll tell you, I put probably a few, 2-3 tablespoons of butter in there. I peel and chop up a bunch of carrots. Right now I'm just putting all the green beans in there. I got 2 onions I'm going to cut up. I put the onions in next. I try to set it in there like a bowl, so the center is kind of hollowed out, so I can pile stuff in and spread it out when I get to the meat. But after I cut this onion up, we'll see if this one makes my eyes water or not. Probably will, because I had to put this sheet up here. It's going to trap the fumes from this onion. But I'll put the onion in, and then I'll put a can of tomato paste, or maybe both of them on top of that. And then I'm going to spice it up. I'll tell you what I put in as I do that. Then I put the meat on. Then I chop the last onion up. Put that on top. Then the last of the green beans I'll chop up and put in there. And then I pour the tomato sauce over it. And then I fill that can up with water and pour that over everything. And then that's it. Then I just put the cover on it, put it in the crock pot, put it on low for 8 hours. That's the recipe. As far as the spices go, I do salt and pepper. I put thyme in there. I put this umami mushroom seasoning stuff in there. It's savory. I like that stuff. Some garlic powder, turmeric, basil, and parsley. Put all that in there, and when I do it, it's like I count, because this is usually good for about 6 to 7 days of food for me when I come home at night. When I come home at night and I take this out of the fridge, I put it in 2 containers, and I take a little bit out and I reconstitute it with, it's pretty thick after the first time, I reconstitute it with some V8. I just pour some of that over it in the pan and heat it up. I heat it to a boil, and then I usually turn the heat off and I'll put just a little bit of pasta in it. And I do that because I found, I don't know, I think I might start putting even less to none of that, because I cut some weight after that trip and I'm trying to keep it off. But I found that putting a little bit of pasta filled me up a little bit more, and I don't know, I'm still playing with that. But guys, remember, I open all my cans with the pocket knife, vintage demo knife here from the military. They used to issue these things. I was carrying one of these things around in my pocket as a kid in high school, 1983. Anyhow, that's all there is to this. Bachelor living, right? Bachelor cooking. I can cook. I can cook and I can bake. Pretty, I can knock out some pretty wild stuff. But when you're living alone, I mean, I enjoy food. But to me, I try to treat food as sustenance, not something I'm addicted to, which helps keep you more trim. You know what I'm saying? You got to watch what you're putting in your body. I find it odd that people get to a certain point, not everybody, but a lot of people get to a certain point where they just give up on it. A lot of those people are married too, which is odd to me. But it's not about trying to be, it's not about how you, I don't know, man. Every time I want to say something, I can see the counter argument before I get it out of my mouth. It's one of the benefits of getting older. You don't know how long you're going to live. And you don't know how long you're going to live. However, if you're going to be around a while, the healthier you are, the better off you're going to be as you get older, as you age. This is common sense stuff here. Nothing I'm saying should be like a shocker or a revelation to you. Yesterday, like I said, I was with Kirgy and her grandkids, and she picked up a metal rack for the back of her Tacoma with a rooftop tent on it, and it's open underneath. And then she went and picked up all metal tactical camper shell for the other truck, and I helped her go pick that up. And when we went down there, there were these young guys there, and I'm going to spice on top of the meat. And this is just under 5 pounds. It's about 5 pounds of beef here. So, I gotta sharpen this knife. These two young guys came down and they saw the tattoo and they said, "Oh, Marine Corps, huh?" And it's like, "Yeah, what about you guys?" They had both been in the Navy. And they were young. They weren't even 30 yet. And we were talking and guns came up and everything else. Real nice guys. One guy was Vietnamese. The other guy was Hispanic of origin. They're Americans. They don't have any accents or anything. And the fitness stuff came up because they're giving me compliments, which was nice of them. And then I did my Asian squat down to the ground, put my hands in front of me, kicked my feet out, did the burpee. But when I jumped back to the Asian squat. And I was explaining this stuff to them, and they're like, I mean, they're not even 30 years old. One guy was pretty jacked, but they can't do the stuff I'm doing, which is it's crazy to me. So my point there is just flexibility is the number one thing. Don't worry about all the other stuff. Weight resistance is super important. Get yourself some bands. Do moves and incorporate all the muscles in your body at the same time. In 10 minutes a day, you could get a pump, feel great, and it'll just work wonders for you. But the flexibility is key. Get in that position and roll your head around, get all the cracks out of your neck, and do that every day. Get into that Asian squat several times a day when you're talking on the phone, all that stuff. And it'll just go a long way. Because you don't want to be in your 60s and be so out of shape that you couldn't get up off the floor easily. Guys, you want to be able to look down and still see your package. You know what I'm saying? The more weight you have on your body. Here's the other thing. When you see bodybuilders and they're just all muscle, and they're well over 200 pounds, 230 pounds, that's not healthy either. The amount of food and protein and other stuff that you have to consume to grow and maintain that muscle taxes your system. There's old bodybuilders around today, but they've adjusted themselves over time. But a lot of these guys die young. So it's just something to be aware of. Just your system, and we're all built different, can only handle so much. You could be in your 80s and have just eaten nothing but junk food the whole time and just get lucky. I find it harder to believe that as a reality as we go on, because so much of the food is garbage. The more garbage you eat, you are what you eat. If you're eating garbage, you're made out of garbage. I take zero medication. Nothing. I don't take any pills whatsoever. Well, except for health, right? So 2 of these every morning. I've changed this up too. So I still have 2 liver pills every morning. And I'm taking 1 biotin in the morning right now, and that's it. I'm not doing the Fedosia agrestis anymore. Got off that. I want to see how that works. I might cycle that in and out over time, but I took that for about a year. I feel like in the beginning I noticed something, but I'm going to stay off it now for a while. But that's it. As far as meds, I'm not taking any meds whatsoever. I don't take anything to sleep, nothing. And I don't need a lot. I should have caffeine noon to 1. I just don't do it. So I do get tired in the afternoons. That's just me. When I get up in the morning, I have an instant coffee thing and a mason jar, and I've even trimmed that back. So it's just a little cinnamon, a little ginger, a little honey, water, and instant coffee. I shake that up and drink it. And the coffee is in like this tiny, just to show you, this little cup right here, this little thing here is what I fill up with coffee, and that's all that's in there. So it's not like I need much. And if I have coffee anytime after 3 p.m., I can't sleep at night. So I know what my system is like. I know what I can and can't do, which is something you should learn. I think the healthier you are, the less you need of that stuff. Getting enough rest, trying to keep the stress levels down, all that good stuff. So I'm just saying, if you're pushing maximum density, if you're larger than you need to be, look at what you're eating. Cut back on the breads, man. Like, unless you're making your own bread, most of the bread you're buying out there is garbage. Not all of it, most of it. Bread doesn't need sugar. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't need sugar. If you can't pronounce the ingredients, start reading labels, please. If you can't pronounce the ingredients in your food, don't eat that. Stay away from hydrogenated oils of any type whatsoever. Corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup, do not eat that. It's poison. Try to stick to meat, vegetables, fruits. Be careful on the grains. Eat the way. You have to understand, the human body has evolved over hundreds of thousands of years, regardless of what some people will tell you. Really, you can make the case that we've been around for 2 million years. But modern humans, I think it's 250,000 years or so. Yeah, there wasn't pasta back then. People weren't making bread back then, all right? They were killing animals and eating them, and eating root-type vegetables, mushrooms, grasses, some grasses, fruits, all that good stuff. And it was a long time. Man lived in these different areas where they ate what they had available to them. Like the diverse diets that we're able to have now, because we can get food from the other side of the world. It's pretty wild what we're able to get. So take advantage of that. Eat that good stuff. But just learn that. Like, the worst is like those of you that want to smoke grass all the time and at night, because the munchies are a real thing. So the trick to that is no garbage food in the house. Like, I do this thing. This is the 5%. By the way, zero fat yogurt has less protein, so you want it with the fat in it. The fat's good for you. Animal fat is good for you. Butter is good for you. It feeds your brain. Your brain needs amino acids, fatty acids, proteins, not found anywhere in the plant kingdom. That's just a fact. So I take some of this and I put vanilla, cinnamon, ginger, sometimes a little clove in there, and then honey and maple syrup and walnut oil is kind of like the secret ingredient here. And then lately I've been putting in some powdered peanut butter and some cacao, chocolate powder just from the plant, nothing else added to it. It's like a Reese's peanut butter cup. Oh my God, it's delicious. So it's like a pudding, but it's super healthy. Everything in it is actually good for you. So have that, or have an apple in the house or something. Have fruit, something that you can eat that is guilt-free and satisfies the craving that you have. Because I have a sweet tooth, but if I eat sugar, it goes right to my waistline and it makes me feel like shit, and it ends up sapping the energy out of me. So I've got to stay away from sugar. But I'm just saying, these are things that I've adopted over the years, and now I'm 57. I'm not doing as much working out as I should, but I can still do everything, and I'm still very strong, and I still, looking good is just the side effect of a healthy lifestyle. That's all that is. So it would be nice if a lady or something came into my life here and was into yoga and stretching and hiking and all that good stuff and wanted to eat healthy, and that's the thing. So that is a thing. Like, it's just one of those things I've been tacking on to the videos lately because I get a lot of private messages from ladies. It's very funny. Sweet though. Thank you, gals. You don't have to stop. But I look at people and I size them up, and I don't want to be in a relationship with somebody that's not healthy. It's not going to happen. I'm gonna drive you crazy. I would drive you nuts with, why are you eating that? Why are you drinking that? Let's get up off your fat ass and go for a walk. You're not going to like that, so I'm not the guy for you. By the same token, I don't want to I don't know that like somebody who's like a full-on bodybuilder, gym rat type person would work for me either, because you know, I'd like to spend some time with you. And those people, that's all they do. That's all they do is work out. And yeah, and I especially don't want to be with somebody who is like that. And then forgot to put the sauce and water in it. Who's like that, and they're like a content creator, because that's their whole lives. You know, people are always on me with Sarah. Why don't you go out with Sarah? I mean, you know, Sarah and I get along very well. She's super cool. I have my issues with her, which is all fine. Nothing negative. But her life is YouTube. That's her thing, man. That's her driving force. Sarah doesn't have time for anybody. You know, Sarah needs a guy probably that she can go out and meet up with somewhere once in a while to scratch that itch, I suppose. But that's not something we ever really discuss. Her personal life is none of my business. It's none of your business either. And my personal life isn't really anybody else's business. I tell you guys as much as I'm prepared to tell you, and that's about it. Which is actually quite a bit. I'm pretty much an open book. But anyhow, having said that, this is today's Sunday night chat. It's 9:30 in the morning. And I'm going to put this out today because I really didn't have a whole lot to tell you about what's been going on, because I've just been inside my own head mostly this week. Tomorrow morning I'm getting up. I got to bring the van in at 8, and they're going to figure out this little leak I got that looks like it's coming from somewhere around the timing cover. I have another timing cover and I have another harmonic balancer, so I'll probably ask them to put those things on there. I'm pretty certain that the timing chain had been replaced at some point. The van, when I bought it, the guy had told me that he had spent a lot of money on it. Even though some things weren't good and things went bad, I think, like, for instance, I'm pretty certain he had put a fuel pump in it, because the filler tube is missing the bolt that holds it to the body. And I could tell by the nuts that hold the straps on that they've been taken off before. So I think they dropped the tank and did it. Obviously, they dropped the tank if they did it, because there's no hole in the floor inside the van. But I think it's possible that they put a timing chain on it too, because that thing just runs so strong, and the timing cover typically wouldn't be leaking, or the seal wouldn't be leaking unless it's, you know, been messed with, I think. I don't know. What the hell do I know? I don't know everything. But the van overall is in pretty decent shape. So I'm going to bring that in. I'm going to ask them to troubleshoot that Hydro Boost thing for me, because I've never really looked at it. I've just been blowing it off. And that could just be a line, because I don't recall it leaking when I got it. But after I did the 4x4 and the lift, so I think the lines could have gotten stretched and created a little bit of an issue there. That might be what it is. I don't know, but I'd like them to tell me what it is, so then I can either do it myself or get what I need and get it to them. The shop I go to is really cool. They're cool with me bringing my own parts, because I always bring the best parts that are available. Most of the time those are AC Delco parts, and this is a little tip for you with a shop. If you bring them the manufacturer's suggested replacement parts, Chevy is AC Delco or Delphi, you know, stuff like that. So if you bring them those parts, those brand name parts, they can't say to you that they're not going to use that part, because most shops are charging twice as much. And my guy tells me that. He always tells me it's going to be cheaper if you get the parts yourself, which is very cool of him. He doesn't have to do that. But this is Irvin over at St. Andrew's Place in Beverly. Right there on the corner is a Chevron station. It's SMG Auto. All the mechanics there, every single one of them, are certified mechanics. They're not just working under his license. Like a lot of shops, that's how it is. There's a guy that owns a shop, he's a certified mechanic, and then he's got, you know, numbskulls working on people's cars. He's got to look over their shoulder. So this place I fully trust. They have not yet let me down. So, and I can walk there. It's awesome. That's the hard thing about it. And as you guys know, I do a lot of my own work. But on this particular thing, I don't have a puller, which is not a big deal. I could get one to get the harmonic balancer off, but I don't feel like taking this thing apart and doing all this. It's one of those things. If I ran into, like, for instance, if they take that out and there's a bunch of slop in that timing chain, well, then the van's going to be there for a while, because I'm going to have to get that or have him get it. I would trust him to get that, I suppose. But then that would have to get taken care of at that time. I'm pretty certain it's been done. I've got even compression across the board on that thing, and I got plenty of power. I'm really not having any issues whatsoever, other than this little weeping that I want to take care of, because it doesn't do it in the city, but on the highway it does it, and that couple little drips of oil will just blow back and coat the oil pan and everything, and it looks like there's some major leak there, and all it is just coming from there. Anyhow, that's going to happen tomorrow morning. I got money for this project, so tomorrow when I get back, I'm calling up the place, putting the order in, seeing when that would get delivered. That'll get delivered in the next couple days after that. I got to be there for that, and then that's it. I'm going to be in the sun building a porch cover across the whole back of a house, and it's going to be interesting. I'm going to be doing some methods that some of you probably have never seen before, so stick around for that, and I'll just leave you with that. I probably ramble along. One of the things I hate about my videos when I rewatch them is I talk about so many things. I usually bring it back and cap each one of those off, but every once in a while there's one that I leave hanging and I didn't catch it because this is all one take wonder guy here. No editing, just me rolling off here. So sorry that happens. But if there's something that I was talking about and I didn't cap that off in the video, mention it in the comments, and I'll be sure to handle that over the course of the week. I promise. That's it for now. Have a great day. Be kind to one another. I'll catch you in the next one.